Well, it's the final go around, so what the hell? Watched all the others. Might as well get through the final season of STD. Yeah. So, after seeing quite a few episodes of Secret Hideout's take on Trek go and do it on the cheap, most notably in Picard Season 3, was wondering how this would look. Well, at least the opening episode, that looks like they spent some money on this thing. I mean, why? They could have just said season 4 was the end, you know? But whatever, they did. There's some spectacular special effects here and there. And Michael Burnham gets back in her Iron Man suit and flies around and does all that stuff, you know? And then there's like a flying motorcycle chase on Tatooine that they do. And then they got most of that is fine, except when it gets really more stupid than stupid, which STD is known for. They have to prevent this avalanche of sand and stuff from a mountain because the bad guys shot it with photon torpedoes. And of course, Mos Eisley's at the end of it, you know, and then they're going to be buried under this stuff. So, oh no, what do? Well, they scream at each other on those flying motorcycles for a while. And then they get Discovery and this other Federation ship to show up and fly in front of the town, bury their saucer sections in the sand, with their ass up in the air, basically putting their heads in the sand, which is appropriate for STD, and using their shields to block the avalanche. Yeah, they did that. Well, it's STD, you understand. So, yeah. The rest of it is they're still very infantilized, very childlike, yapping at one another about this and that, all that stuff. Saru gets engaged to his Vulcan girlfriend, so there's that. And of course, this is his chance to get the hell off that ship, and can't blame him, you know, even though he's had opportunities before. But well, the show's ending anyway, so he's getting a job somewhere else, which he can't possibly have any real experience for in that era. But yeah, whatever. I'm sure his Vulcan girlfriend could pull some strings or something and all that. Meanwhile, but the overall plot, once again, a mysterious something that they have to find before the bad guys find it, which in this case happened to be two criminals. Who is their ultimate buyer or whatever? Don't know yet, but it's some alien dude with a sort of light green head. I don't know what he's supposed to be. And then his girlfriend, who turns out to be a long-lost child from Book's past, sorry. So what are the odds, you know? Meanwhile, Book, of course, he was in a lot of trouble for helping out the guy from the last season. I forget that whole thing. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but he's the only man who can help Burnham track down these criminals, because it takes a thief to catch a thief, you know? And so she gets her boyfriend back. Hayla, her boyfriend's back. And but oh, she doesn't know if she should. But she just can't stop being sweet around him. But maybe there's been too much distance. Maybe they should have stayed in contact for, I don't know, the couple of days in between or whatever. But that's their big struggle, you know. And with Saru leaving, she needs a new second in command, a number one, you know. And so she's Saru, well, why not make your boyfriend? But of course, you think that would be inappropriate, you know. But then again, it's STD. There's no real respect for the command structure or anything. That they're all just aging children. So why not make him the second in command? But she does it because they've introduced a new character. He's this hot-headed captain who is the one that ends up stupidly causing the event that leads. Yeah, the bad guys shoot that mountain range, but it was his idea to shoot at them first, so they gave him the idea to do it so they could escape and all that. And so he gets court-martialed and stripped of his command and forced into early retirement. But I don't know, something about him. Michael Burnham says, but he's a great officer. I don't know how she would know that, having only just arrived in that time period, unless she looked up his record. He says he has a 30-year career as a captain or a Starfleet officer. But that's interesting because Starfleet, until Michael Burnham came and saved them all, was stuck in that bubble because they couldn't use their warp engines because of all the dilithium depleted from the burn. But he had 30 years. Yeah. Well, whatever. He's the new number one, and they're combative, and that kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe she'll leave book for him, It's hard to believe that they would allow a character like that, who's going to argue with Burnham all the time. Because usually those guys are killed off pretty quick because the lesson is nobody questions Michael Burnham, especially some white guy. Well, he is white, but he has these weird ears, so he's obviously alien. So maybe that's the cover. I don't know. And maybe they'll reveal he's gay later and won't fall in love with Michael. But, yeah. So anyway, that's the deal. They're gonna butt heads, but Michael Burnham sees something in him, I guess. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it doesn't have to. It's STD. So anyway, turns out this time the plot is one that's stolen from an earlier Star Trek episode, from the real Star Trek, Next Generation in this case. Because that's what they do. Now, they steal all the time from other sci-fi franchises and movies, shows, video games, all that type of stuff. In fact, this time they started stealing from Tron because the criminals looked like Tron characters. And even Michael Burnham and Saru, when they beamed down, they had these specialized suits on with little glowy lights on them and stuff. Even those kind of look like something from Tron Legacy, So there's that. But the plot about the mysterious something is related to that episode that they did, Next Generation, where there was some secret thing that was ancient and could be a powerful weapon. And so the Romulans wanted it, the Klingons wanted it, I think the Cardassians wanted it, and then Picard was chasing after it himself, only to find that the thing was a message left behind by this ancient alien race that was so super duper pooper scooper advanced. And it turns out they're the ones who seeded the galaxy with their own DNA and whatnot that spread out, and they were basically the parent race of all the other races involved in Star Trek lore. To go and give an explanation for why so many aliens in Star Trek just look like people with rubber stuff on their face. They're all humanoid, because, well, having an intelligent jellyfish standing around on the bridge of the Enterprise is just too expensive to do, the effects you would need for that. So they made an explanation for it, and it was a good episode. That was a cool thing they did, and they did it I think it was one episode, maybe it was a two-parter, I can't remember exactly. But anyway, now they're going to do it again for this one. They showed some stills from that episode. This is the big secret. And one of the Romulans continued to investigate this, found some technology from this ancient race, and then mysteriously disappeared. Their ship was damaged or whatever, and I guess they died and have been sitting there in their ship. The ship was a derelict Romulan ship, floating around for 800 years. And now Starfleet decides, oh, we better go look for that. Of course, after the burn, they couldn't, I guess, you know. So it's just, oh, yeah, that thing. We need to go burn him, go find that thing. So it's still an archaeological chase here. So it's like Indiana Jones meets Star Wars. Boy, I bet Kurtzman would love to hear it described like that, huh? Yeah. But it's basically the same idea of that old Next Generation episode, only dragged out much longer and much worse and much more stupid. I mean, actually, the original wasn't all that stupid. Actually, it was a clever way of explaining, you know, the humanoid aliens and stuff. Whereas this, well, they did spend some money on it. They did. What a waste. Yeah. A good bit of it is incredibly annoying. The infantilized crew and all of that. It is a fascinating thing about something like this that demands respect while at the same time doesn't respect its audience and doesn't respect itself. Doesn't respect its characters, doesn't respect the basic ideas of plot, and doesn't even respect its own continuity, let alone the whole Trek continuity, you know. Yeah, it's weird. But, you know, never underestimate stupid.